Well, welcome to episode 96 of According to Flint, the podcast. Happy to have. I couldn't believe when I looked and said, I've never had KeyShawn Whitehorse on my podcast. KeyShawn, I apologize that you've had to wait 96 episodes.
Hey, I'm just when my times come and time's now. So
Your time is now. See, I was waiting for you. Like I sat back and said, okay, KeyShawn, let's go do something really cool. And then I'll have you on my podcast. So here,
all right.
here you are. I like your background, by the way. Um,
Thanks.
King of the North. I don't know if people, when to start, a couple of years ago, Adam Libby, Chad Berger, there's a series of challenger event PBRs up along this northern border of the country series. And what's it pay at the end? 100 grand or something?
Yeah, 100 grand. And then they have different prizes like from second and third and kind of I think it goes down to fourth maybe, but for sure top three. But yeah, it's pretty much like a summer series at that time. This year it's a little bit kind of they started off early and they have a few here at the tail end of the fall. They had just a couple during the summer, but not a whole lot.
Those are because I worked, I see behind you. There's Binford.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Spirit Lake one I went to, there's,
Yeah, Spirit
yeah,
Lake, you went to that one. I think the only one you didn't go to that I have on the wall is Eureka.
yeah, the
I
bull
don't know if you,
thing is
yeah,
Eureka, Montana. I never had the chance to go because it kind of overlapped some bigger events and just never had the chance. But Deadwood, Kalispell, Great Falls, man,
yeah. I got a
Livingston.
old Deadwood one back there.
There you
That one
go,
for
man. That's
before
cool.
King of the North.
Those are fun events, though. We get, people, the ones that are publicized are Unleash the Beast, the teams, even the Velocity Tour. Those are little hidden gems, fun time, fun to work bull riding. It's kind of back to our roots type, aren't they?
Right, right. Because I mean, bull riding, I mean, rodeo in general is usually outdoors, and now the PBR, all the UTBs and team events, all of them are pretty much indoors. So you kind of get in a way, a good refresher. And it, like a lot of times, those events are venues where, like Deadwood, for example, is down in the down in this like little town, and there's all the mountains and trees nearby and whatnot. It's just the environment of them all is really cool, and I think it really grounds you and it really makes you into a position of like this is what bull riding kind of started from, and it's all about. And it just brings back the Western feel to it because you kind of get into like I guess the city feel in a
Yeah.
way, or the show feel when it comes to the UTBs, and you get back to the Western feel of the actual bull riding at hand when you go to those events.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Because the one thing that I kind of like about going to big PBRs, I don't have to worry about the elements. And when I go, I can look across there and go, "Oh my God, it rained there." And at in the moment, I'm like, "Damn it, I wish I was inside." But really, it adds character to them. That's
No,
is one of
no,
those things you got to overcome and deal with.
right.
So it's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, no doubt. You go from like putting your rope in your gear bag in the locker room, and then you go to these and you have it behind the chutes, and all of a sudden it's pouring down rain, and you're trying to find one spot that is dry. You go from having your rosin perfectly fine at the in the AC, and then from there you're trying to tape up your rowels so there's no mud getting inside your rowels, and taping up your bull rope. And there's some guys that'll ride in a rain jacket. You're trying to keep like your rope and your glove as dry as it can possibly be. I mean, it's definitely tough, and there's been times I know, speaking from myself, and I'm sure a lot of other guys, that there was bulls that they should have rode, and they probably would have rode if the conditions were perfect, but the rope gets a little too wet, or your rowels get a whole bunch of mud in them. Because I mean, those are the only 2 points of contact really that you have
uh,
to keeping you on, and when one of those goes, it makes bull riding a whole lot harder than it needs to be. And I mean, it's already pretty tough as it is. That adds another level of difficulty.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it was. I was in Calgary years ago when the PBR became part of the invite to Calgary thing. And it was either Luke Snyder or LJ Jenkins, I think. And it rained like it does in Calgary. It was raining. They had never ridden in the rain, like didn't even know what to do. Like, how do I cover my rope? Like, because it started with PBR at 18. It might have been Luke, actually.
Yeah, I feel
Like,
like
what
I
the
know
hell?
LJ a little bit better than Luke, but I feel like it would be Luke that.
That's a Luke Snyder thing. Yeah, yeah, completely. Um, so what through all the years I've known you, you were from they used to announce you from Texas. Now you're McCracken Springs, Utah. What's your not to get into the hey, tell me how you grew up. What was your where were you growing up?
So it was like I didn't have like I guess home base per se, like every kind of kid does. They grow up in the same town, know everybody. I mean, I spent more time in Texas as I grew up, but like up until like third grade, I pretty much stayed in Utah. But then after that, once we moved down to Texas, I was always back and forth between Utah and Texas. Namely, we moved down there because my mom's work. She had a job down in Houston, and knew a lot of people, grew up there. But as much as we could go back, possibly, we always went back home to Utah and always stayed connected with the family. It wasn't until I think I was, well, I know the year, it was 2017. I moved out. I moved with a friend of mine. His name is John Getz. He lived in North Texas. I lived with him for a few years, and then after that, in 2019, I was like, I need to go back home. I need to like kind of be grounded again in my roots again back home and figure things out there. It's part of who I am and where I come from. So then I moved back there for quite some time. So like, people always say like you're from Texas and then some might say you're from Utah. I mean, I'm a little bit of both. But for me, I mean, mountains are my home. So
Yeah.
like Utah is like what's in my DNA, or like at least the mountain range is, but in the desert a little bit. But I met a lot of great people down here in Texas, that's for sure.
There's good people in Texas, but I worry about there's some about mountains with us people, being from Montana. I take for granted looking out and always seeing the mountains.
Yeah.
So I know Texas is good and I'm going to Texas at least for a while. I think I'm going to start looking for those mountains a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, so like here recently I had moved to Granbury, Texas within the past few months. And there's a little like, I mean, some people around here might call it a mountain. It's more like a glorified hill, but uh, that's what I call my mountain here. It's not too far from the house, and I don't know. I like it. I like it here, but there's, like you said, there's something about the mountains, and I think if you live there for long enough, you kind of do take it for granted because when you move away for a while and then you see them again, it's just like it feels refreshing. You feel starting to feel comfortable again. In the mornings, you wake up early in the morning and there's that crisp mountain air,
Yeah, I
and
know.
then you're like cup of coffee, whether you got to go down the road or you're just gonna hang out on your front porch, or next thing you know, you hit a little mountain lake up and it's like the trout are jumping right there in the
Uh,
morning. Like that's just it
you're
hits
killing me,
different,
man.
and that's for sure.
You're killing me.
Yeah.
Hey, with moving around all like you say, it makes me think about like, your path into bull riding. Did you high school rodeo too,
I
or
did.
just junior rodeo? What'd you
I
do
did.
there?
So, well, I started riding when I was like 5 years old, and I went to a rodeo school in Ignacio, Colorado, and I went to a bunch of res bull ridings there on the Navajo Nation. And then once we moved down here, went to just youth bull ridings, but I did high school rodeo for Texas, um, which I mean, I think that being down here in Texas for bull riding, I think if anything rodeo wise is good, but bull riding for sure, just because the competition level down here for bull riding is so high. I mean, I remember growing up and thankfully I'm a little bit older. It's probably the only time I'm thankful to be a little bit older than some of the kids, because I remember growing up and getting past like the calves and the steers and maybe going into like the junior bulls. At that time, they had really started the breeding program like hardcore. And so like stock contractors had calves that were like that bucked really hard. And they were taking to these youth rodeos, and you got like little 8-year olds getting on these
Yeah.
calves that
Isn't
that
that
were
nice of
back right
them?
there.
Isn't that so nice of them? Does everybody
Right,
good, right?
right. I think it went there, and then everybody's like, well, okay, we got to reel it back in. Like these are just kids getting on these things. But yeah, high school ready for Texas. I made it to nationals for 3 years. Uh, First, my freshman year, bucked off both my bulls. I was in Rock Springs, Texas, and then I didn't make it my sophomore year. I won my region. I think I stayed on every single bowl except for one that year in my region. Went to state finals, big chest, like, yeah, I'm the man. And I choked at state finals because here in Texas, I don't know if it is still the same now, which I'm sure it is, but during that time, you would get points from winning your region or placing down. So first place got 10 going into state finals. But then whenever you got there, it was a clean slate besides those little bit of points you got from your standings regionally. And then you would move top four, would move on from there to nationals. So
Yeah.
freshman year, I think I finished fourth. And then sophomore year, I didn't ride a single bull at state. Junior year, I don't know what I finished junior and senior year, but within the top four, never quite pulled it off. And then, but my junior and senior year, I was able to, like, if I rode my first bull, I would have won nationals because every year I would buck off those 2 years, I buck off my first bull and like win the next 2 rounds and be like second or third. And all I had to do was pretty much ride my first
Yeah.
bull.
How old are you right now?
I I actually just turned 27 last week.
I'm trying to think if I would have crossed paths with you at nationals. I think where were nationals? Rock Springs, Wyoming, or Gillette,
Rock,
Wyoming? Rock Springs?
Rock Springs, and then Gillette was the senior year.
I'll bet so because Shelby's 25. So yeah, I probably saw you there, but didn't know you then,
Yeah,
you know.
right. Yeah,
So
no, I met a lot of good people. High school rodeoing. I mean, Andrew, I high school rodeoed and youth bull rode with him, Andrew Alvarez. I mean, there's other guys, and then like all the Wright brothers. So, like, it was
mhm.
good to see them because I'm like, I'm from Utah too, but I know I'm riding from Texas, but I'm from
Yeah.
Utah. And, I actually rode mini bulls with them. They had a mini bull riding finals in Ogden, Utah. That's how I know Kyler Oliver as well. I actually met a lot of the guys I know that are from like either from Utah or Montana, Idaho, even up into the Northwest region. They had a mini bull riding finals in Helena.
I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember. It was in that little barn, wasn't it? Was it in on the fairgrounds
yeah,
somewhere? Yeah,
yeah. Some little building, and
yeah.
when I was younger, we moved to Colorado for a little bit, and at that time, like I said, like we always missed home, no matter where we were. So like my dad had built a little arena back home in Utah, and it was Rifle, Colorado, and that's how I got to know Colton Fritzling because we
Oh,
lived in the
sure.
same
Yeah.
town.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, we would drive back and forth from Rifle to Utah just for me to get on because we didn't really know anybody besides Colton there. And I'd get on back and forth, and I think there was a person that my parents were trying to contact for me to get on some stock. And one day after I had got done riding at home, we were headed back, and we got a call, and his name was Travis Cowden, and he had mini bulls. And they're like, "Do you want to get on again?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I don't care. Like, we're almost home. We can get on real quick." So I went over to his house, got on. Well, later on down the line, we moved out of there, and he ended up calling my folks and was like, "Hey, there's this miniature bull riding finals in Helena. Colorado just joined that circuit. We would like to add KeyShawn for the finals there to ride for Team Colorado." And I didn't even live there anymore, but but I was
uh,
entered up in Team Colorado and
uh,
ended up winning the miniature bull riding finals there, the Northwest Miniature Bull
huh.
Riders.
I remember
So
that. I might have got called saying, "Would you come and work this for the kids?" And I said, "Well, I don't like kids, so no, no, I'm good.
it's
I didn't need the
it's
exposure."
it's instead they signed Danger Dave, I think it
Yeah, there you
was.
go.
And,
He probably was there. Dave was.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
funny. Um, all the places you go, and I learned this. man, years ago when I first started going to Albuquerque. And um, it's hard to find bigger fans of like bull riding, cowboys, specific cowboys, everything about rodeo and bull riding. Hard to find bigger fans than the Navajo Nation. I mean,
Right.
they, going to Albuquerque, and I don't know, 70% of the crowd, whatever it is. I mean, they'll hunt you down for an autograph, pictures. There's some
Right.
passion down there, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's I think like in all native aspects, I think just the Western heritage is just so intertwined with everything. But in the Navajo Nation, when it comes to rodeo and it comes to bull riding, like you're saying there in Albuquerque at the pit, it's like a new level that you could ride. You could be 18 years old and you know make it to what it used to be. New York used to be the first event of the year, but I don't know. It's different now. It depends and whatever. You can go throughout the season, and then all of a sudden, everybody's talking about the pit. All like for me now, I'm the veteran, the old guy, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you don't know nothing yet till you go to the pit," pretty much. And they're probably, they're like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." And they go there and experience it for the first time, and they're like, "Yeah, like it's crazy the energy that's there."
Yeah.
That's for sure. And, you know, growing up, I mean, I remember my dad would get Navajo Times newspaper, and like every week, every weekend, there's another rodeo somewhere that can interrupt in the sports area on the newspaper. So he'd call in for me. I think it's just like it's like when you come to the city and it's like soccer, like there's
Yeah.
always soccer going on
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like that back home. There's usually like always a rodeo going on somewhere as long as the weather's good anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. Ropers. Oh my gosh. Cause I experienced it. The Navajo Nation's so big. I grew up by the Blackfeet Reservation. And my dad, we were at different areas in Montana. He announced Indian rodeos, and I don't know, there's a level of passion, whether they're cheering for you or doing it, whether it's riding bulls or team roping, whatever. It's just it's a different passion. It's not just, hey, I rope or I cheer for it. It is ingrained in those folks. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all about it. It's
Yeah, without a
hard
doubt.
to describe. For me, it's hard to
Well,
describe.
I feel like the easiest way to put it is like if somebody's dad or yeah, somebody's dad maybe played in the NFL or like maybe they played high in college and then they did it too. And it's like they want their son to play that sport. It's kind of like that within us. It's like, okay, well, I mean, there's always horses around, there's livestock around, and everybody's at least gone on a horse once, everybody's at least roped once, or maybe even got on a bull once, back home. At least try to mess around with it. If it wasn't for them, it wasn't for them. But and they know what it's about. They know the lifestyle, they know it's all around them.
Yeah.
So whenever they do see it or they see it at a high level, it's like, okay, I know what this is about. This guy's good, or oh, I really want this guy to do good because we know what's there pretty much.
Yeah. There are ropers. Well, you could name any event, but I'll say ropers and bull riders on reservations across the country, the Navajo Nation, that are better than anyone you've ever seen, that no one will ever see. Right?
Right,
You
right.
all, you probably in your head go, I remember such and such. He was amazing. And it's just the kind of the culture, but it's kind of sad when in the back of your head, the best guys you've ever seen were down there and they never leave. Right?
Right, right, exactly. And I always ponder on that quite a bit. I spend time thinking like, why? Why doesn't this person ever do this or go out and do that? And I got to thinking about my childhood and growing up. I remember going from being back home on the res in Utah and then moving to Texas. And when I moved, it was such a homesick, eerie feeling every single day of my life. I go from peace and quiet, family around all the time, to fire truck sirens going off, police sirens going off, people that I don't know, strangers all around me, having to stay basically away from like everybody's property, making sure you walk and stay in the right places versus back home. I could walk wherever I wanted to walk. I could go wherever I wanted to go. My family was there. It was nice and quiet. So I think like, and then like going from that and missing home that much, I think going from that and like guys that, they stay around the res and they ride really good, they're comfortable, they know the people around them, they have their family around them. You go from all that peace and all that like comfortability and knowing what's around you and just the mindset behind it to getting thrown out into the world. And because a lot of them, some of them will come out and they'll try to go to either some pro rodeos or go to some PBRs, and then you might see them, they might put on a couple good rides, and then they go back and you never hear of them again besides if you go home.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of that's just kind of based off of just that feeling, the same feeling I got when I was a kid. And when you're out there, you do feel alone. You feel like nobody's out there for you and nobody's out there helping you. And everybody that supports you is not with you. They're back at home.
Hmm.
And I think that's a huge deal. And it's definitely a big hurdle to overcome. That's for sure. I know it took my dad a long time to get used to being away from home. And he's not even like playing sports or anything like that, like professionally, where you have to travel around. He had us, but it still had the same feeling. So I can only imagine, some of the guys that come out here and maybe they only have one buddy or they don't have anybody. It's just them.
Hmm. Hmm. We could end it right there. That was awesome. Yeah, we run into it. Basketball up here, greatest basketball players I've ever seen. Where,
Right.
Jonathan Brings Plenty and Elvis Old Bull and kid that got killed in the car wreck this week, Journey Emerson. I mean, my favorite was from Hardin, and now he's playing at MSU Billings. Famous Left Hand, like the greatest basketball name ever. Anyway, so we, it's. I'm glad you talked about that. Talking about right now, you have our Arizona Ridge Riders hat on. Why is it that when I look at KeyShawn Whitehorse during the team series, I think you maybe just kind of answered the question. I see a different guy, different look in the eye, a different swagger, a different confidence when you're leading that team. I do. There's a consistency. You rise to the occasion. Now that you just said what you said about having people around you to make you comfortable, does that relate? Are you falling into that?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree 100%. Like support system's big for anybody. And like quickly going back on what I was saying, like when you step out into the world from, being on the res life and all of a sudden you go from having all the support from your family to having like no support from anybody. You might have like a good job or you can do it from random people or good people that you meet, but you go from having it all to non support system pretty much. And now with the team series involved, you come in and you have a group of guys around you and they trust you and they believe in you and they have the confidence in your ability. And I think that shows and that transpires not only in myself but in a lot of other guys. And it allows you to trust yourself, and it allows you to trust your ability, and it allows you to trust your training and not question anything. But it also allows you to block out the distractions of whether it's in your own head. It allows you to block out the distractions of other people basically saying you're not good enough. It allows you to rise to the occasion, because at the end of the day, it's all a team win can be up to you or or not, and you don't want to let other guys down. You don't want to let the people basically in that perspective your family down, you know, from a win. So you're going to make sure you do everything possible to get that win for your guys.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny as you were talking about struggles leaving, and then I thought, wow, that makes sense. You got you, and you got another kid from the reservation who, got to go to Albuquerque and did real well. Nobody had ever heard of Jacoy Hale. And here's this quiet, nice kid. I just really like Jacoy. And he ends up on the Arizona team. He has you around. You look at that team. Jacoy might have a future. That kid, he does a lot of things right, doesn't he?
Yeah, he definitely does. I think he can be a phenomenal rider. And, I sit down and I talk to him and I do my best to give him the information that I've learned over the years. Because for me, I want kids from back home. For me, the biggest thing besides my own personal goal of being a world champion and being like a team champion is to make the kids back home believe in themselves so they can come out and they can do great things. I basically want them to take over like how the Brazilians took over. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That would really excite me. And so, like, when he entered our team, I was really happy and I'm ecstatic. And I'm here and I want to support him the best way I can because I want him to be better than me if he can. I want to give him the options to be in the tools to do that. Now, does that mean I'm going to let him win? Of course not. but I'm for sure going to try to be there to help him. I mean, I think the biggest thing we can do is support each other, especially in the Native community, because within the Native community, there is a lot of support and a lot of help, but there's also a downfall of a lot of jealousy and a lot of the other side of the page that other people don't like seeing other people succeed from the same background. And that comes with anybody. I mean, that comes from everywhere else, but it's just known in our community too. So I think the biggest thing I can do for him is try to be there, be a positive impact on his life and his bull riding career. And that's all I want to do and be able to hopefully squeeze out as much talent and ability as out of him as he can, that he can go on and do great things in this career path that he has chosen that I am knowledgeable in now. And I have a couple years head start because he has the ability, he has the strengths, he's technically correct in a lot of his riding. I'm not. I'm just the guy that kind of just gets the job done. But if he can fine tune his mental ability on top of his physical ability, like when it comes to training and working out and stuff like that, because there's not a whole lot he needs to change in his riding fundamentals. Maybe some stuff, but that's just very minimal. A lot of it's between the ears and a lot of it's just building his body up physically, because when you go here in the PBR, you're getting on the best bulls in the world and you're getting on bulls that are going to put you in compromising positions that you need to have that extra strength or that extra mental fortitude to get back and stay on, or you might get slam dunked, but your body needs to be able to handle it. So I just try to guide them in the right ways is the best way I know how. I know I'm not the best teacher, but I try to give him words of wisdom
Yeah.
as much as I can
Well,
without overflowing him.
Yeah. And he does trust you. It takes that, person from the same background. And as you were talking, one of my favorite people, I consider him a good friend, is Derek Begay from down there. He told me when you said it's just the Western heritage is ingrained in you guys. He told me one time we were sitting and he always thinks before he talks, he said, Flint, the difference between you and me? Well, I'm like, what? He said, if we ever play Cowboys and Indians, you can play one part, I can play both. That's I said, thanks, Derek. Yeah.
Right.
And he just walked away. I'll never forget that. So your team, speaking of guys on your team, one of my favorite bull riders, because we've done some Cooper Tire stuff together, and he fits your team. And I want Eduardo Aparecido. He's been to the world finals like 12 or 13 times.
Right.
That guy, he's so consistent, but it looks, when I see him on your team, his level-headedness, his personality, that little smile seems to fit right with you guys, with what you guys are doing and try to accomplish. What about, what about him? Like, is there something you see in him being around him that we don't? He's an interesting cat, that guy.
Definitely. I grew up watching him. I went to Robson Palermo's house when I was younger, and I seen him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see him and all these other guys. So I've known him for a few years, but I didn't get to really know him until the team series started. And his mindset, especially with the team deal, I can tell like he's like, okay, he's got his guys he trusts and he believes in, but it's like the old timer kind of thing. You got to prove yourself in a way, like because he has his guys he trusts, and he's like, all right, yep, that's my guy. He can stay. Like I trust. I'm confident in him and him. And I realized one day, I don't know where we were at, what bull I rode, I can't remember, but I stayed on. And he always like we were always cool, but we weren't like that cool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I rode some bull to win it, and it was like I can't remember. And he was like, gave me a hug. He's like, "Good job!" And like it switched then with him. It was like I can rely on this guy. I can trust this guy to get on whatever, or he can stay on. Like he's got it, and that like felt really good to me because I mean, childhood hero kind of thing. But he's like the calmest guy, but you can tell like as soon as he's behind a chute, he's locked in, and he's super nice, cares about his family so much, and it's like I don't know, like bull riding with him is like a lot of us turn the switch on and off, and he does too. But the thing with him is when you see him turn the key to it, he's stepping on the gas. As soon as that key turns, he's full throttle. Versus some of us have to kind of get built up, get jacked up, and we finally get up to speed. Like once he flips that switch, he's on it. And with him, he's so strong. He's such a strong rider, not only physically, but mentally. And like you were saying, I mean, to make the world finals that many times is a feat within its own because on top of all that, not just only having the ability to do that, but being able to stay healthy enough to do all that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's outstanding. And he's our leader of our team, our captain of our team. He's a guy that we don't even really worry about. Like we put him on the right bulls, and he usually gets the job done. If he's having a hard time staying on, it's not like, oh man, we don't know what to do. Yeah, it sucks because it's like, what the hell, man? Like you're supposed to be your guy. Like, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, he'll come around. Like you don't worry about him not ever coming around. Like like at some point the ride's gonna happen and he's going to get the train right back on the tracks. And from that point on, it's like game over for everybody else.
Yeah. I love that guy. He doesn't say much, but Flint. He always says, Flint. Like, hey man,
yeah.
Eddie, fast Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Uh, there was a comment made recently by your coach, Colby Yates, that he said, my team just they take care of business. He said, I am by far the loudest, wildest person on the back of the chutes. There's a kind of an opposite there with the guys on his team, but I feel like Colby Yates and his style, that big energy, translates well to you guys because you take it in and it kind of fits. Colby, he's kind of the right man for the job there, isn't he?
Yeah. I feel like we're a very well balanced team. And I think, like, especially when it came to like expansion draft day, picking guys and stuff like that, uh, I know for a fact we were looking for guys that fit our team, not just good riders.
Mm.
Because for us, the biggest thing for us is team chemistry. Like we're a group of guys that we all have our important places in our personal life, but we also, with that being said, we handle that and we come into the locker room together as family too. And we're all laugh and joke together. We're comfortable around each other and stuff, and the chemistry is there. And I think that allows us to go like we don't have to hang around each other all the time. We don't have to continually have team practices every single week. And I'm not saying those are bad and the other teams that are doing it, I'm not saying it's a joke or anything, but it just makes life easier on us because we know once we do come into the locker room together, we have each other's backs. And then having Colby there as our high energy guy, and then always, keeping up on the rules and the rule book within the teams, and then keeping up with the bulls and such. And like, he observes us guys individually. He'll give us phone calls during the week and just kind of ask us how we're doing and what's going on, or if we have a draw, maybe, and call a few guys and ask, what do you think about this bull? And how do you like this bull? Or what do you think about this bull for this guy? Rather than just saying, all right, this is my team and we're going to do it how I say I'm going to do it. And with him being there, and it's kind of like our backbone, our brace that we lean on with his mentality and his approach towards this team series, because we find our confidence within that, because we know that he's going to stick up for us if he feels like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that for a coaching position, that's needed, because you don't want to look at your coach and be like, you're a joke, dude.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, before your time, when Colby Yates was riding bulls, he was one of my favorites. We were on Team Enterprise together, so we were around each other a lot. And Colby was always one of my favorite guys. And for one, he could really play the guitar and sing. For one, but he was fun, but just kind of a professional. I don't know. It's cool to see these guys stepping up in that role when you knew them before, and you go, yeah, that makes sense. To me, it makes sense with Colby, especially. Right. You guys are solid. Your Arizona team is solid. By the way, recently on my Tuesday night live broadcast, you were my Cooper Tire Stronghold ride of the week. They have a new tire called the Stronghold. And you were my guy. We looked at your ride. So congratulations. We'll send your cash award. I think we have a cash. No, we don't, but I'll send you your plaque or your buckle. You guys are you're just solid. That's how I always describe your team. Just solid. Man, there's some good teams.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, shoot. I mean, the past, like last year, since the beginning of the team series, I feel like we should have won every single year. Like the first year it took second, last year we took third, and like we're like so close. We just so close, and I think this is the year it all plays out the right way. I think that every time we go to Vegas, I think the biggest thing too is we have this chip on our shoulder, because unless you're like a very analytical person, or you're somebody like you that's there all the time, people look at our team and they might not see us as a great team or the strongest team, just as just a fan point standing view, because you got the Gamblers, they got Jose, they got Kaiki, got Carolina with Cooper Davis, Dalen, and Sage, and these guys that have all these gold buckles and stuff. But throughout every year, we've literally rose to the top, not quite all the way on top of the mountain, but damn near it,
Yeah.
And I think with that being said, we're always a force to be reckoned with. And I mean, in my opinion, we could do it easily as long as we put our heads in the right spot and let the cards play out.
Yeah. It's fun. And as it goes, the guys that helped me in this studio would probably back me when I first said I was not the first season. The teams, it was fine, but I kind of went in being an old rodeo guy. And then last year I started to go, wait, this is kind of fun. And now this year I'm into it. As we record this earlier today, I got some lineups and I was looking at who's going against who and the lineups, it's interesting. The longer it goes, I'm into it.
Definitely. I think for me, like we all had the same aspect the first year. Like, all right, yeah. Especially like for the first event of the season for the team series, starting off in Cheyenne, you're just kind of like, this is it, right? And, like the crowd's kind of there, but they're like kind of like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And then the second event of the season was Kansas City.
Kansas City.
They did the whole walkout. And then the Kansas City Outlaws walked out, and you just hear the building explode and everybody going crazy for the Kansas City Outlaws. And you're like, this is pretty cool,
Oh
you
yeah, yeah.
know?
You go. Oh, I see. There's a home field. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it. Me
And
too.
and
Yeah,
a lot of people like it, especially like kind of like my girlfriend saying, or like my mom, or just anybody, like, and some of the people that you know, they know bull riding, but they don't know it to T. But they really enjoy the team series because they can root for a team instead of having to know a certain guy that they might like because he's from the same town, or just because they like the guy, or whatever it may be. This allows you to root for a group of guys and a whole team and enjoy a process of winning,
yeah.
through the team.
Completely. And that's the
Yeah.
the point of it. Now that I'm kind of inside and doing other things with PBR, that's the goal, is to bring people in because they can cheer for you guys, not just need to know,
Right.
each rider. So yeah, you're absolutely
Yeah.
correct. Before I let you go, I don't want to keep you. I know places to go and things to do. One of those might be golf. Uh, how's the golf game? Every time I see you, you're freaking going golfing. All right. What are you hitting them? How's it going?
Well, I ain't gonna tell the truth of my score on this podcast. You should know that already.
uh,
I could be shooting anywhere between 100 and 80.
yeah. You hit them okay
No,
though, don't you? You wear the stuff,
yeah.
right? You got all the nice stuff. You look like you could go right now.
I actually just went this morning with Randy Terry.
With who?
But Randy
Oh, okay.
Terry. Um, but yeah, no, it's been all right. I tell you what, I go from shooting to mid to high 80s very consistently. And I was going into July, and I'm like, this is my birthday month. Man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to go to Big Sky and all these different places. And my game's like, I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but it's fun because I'm actually shooting good. Like for me, I'm not a professional golfer, a guy
Right.
that doesn't put time into it all the time. And I'm like, heck yeah. And then the month of July hit, and all of a sudden I couldn't hit the ball, basically. Uh, I would shank the ball, I would hit it fat, thin it, hook it, you name it. Every shot in the book that could possibly go wrong, besides flushing one and it going straight, I did it the whole month of July. And last week in Duluth, I brought my clubs with me, and I'm starting to kind of crawl out of this funk. Like I was in a slump there for a little bit, and I had to
Yeah.
keep playing. I had to ride my way out of it, as you guys say, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so it's
Uh,
coming back. I actually starting to have fun again with it instead of being pissed, because I did actually almost break my clubs the other day, very surprisingly. I'm usually pretty
uh,
pretty cool, and I handle my frustration pretty all right, but I was no longer about to have a 54 degree in my back there for a second.
I used to golf quite a bit, and I kind of like last summer, I ended up not really golfing at all. And now it just pisses me off when I go again because I know it's in there, but
Yeah.
you're rusty and it's the worst. It's the
It's
greatest.
the
It's the hardest game in the world. It
Yeah,
is.
it's so hard. And the thing is like today I was hitting good shots. It just wasn't really, the scorecard wasn't like playing out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, it's gonna come around, like the ball's gonna start dropping, and then my putts are gonna go in. And I have this positive mindset because I'm making good contact and everything. And all of a sudden I just lose it all mid game, and I can't hit all of a sudden the good contact goes away. And it's so like that. It never turned around
Oh,
really. And I
oh
was like, where
God.
did it all go?
It's
Where?
the it's the worst. Oh
I
man.
know, man. And then you go out one day, you take 2, 3 weeks off, haven't played, and then you shoot your best score all of
Well,
a sudden.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, I know.
Like, this doesn't make any sense because I didn't do anything.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
what I'll do is I'll start going to the range. I have some good clubs. I'll start hitting, and then down in Texas, you and I'll let you
Yeah.
take me somewhere. Deal?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, deal. I know a bunch of courses, and it's a terrible time to enter up tournaments because it's the most tournaments I've actually ever entered up lately. Actually, ever, not lately, ever. I played in Big Sky. Thank
Hmm.
God we had a good team. I did drive the ball good there. We
Yeah.
won, got me a Big Sky buckle. And then,
Were you on
uh,
Chase Moberg's team? Yeah,
yeah,
I just talked to him. I did. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
he was our dude there. But
yeah.
then now there's a tournament in Nashville I'm going to be in, and then there's a tournament in Weatherford that I'm going to be in too. And I'm like, why do I have to be in all these tournaments when all of a sudden my game's in shambles? Bad
Ride your way
timing.
out of it, man. Just ride
I
your way
know.
out of it. That's all you
I
can
am
do.
I am gonna probably keep bringing my clubs with me to try to keep my
Okay.
game.
All right.
But
Well, I'll look you up. Listen, buddy, really great. I'm glad you shared some stuff with us. And I'll be on the road with you. It's not like it's not going to be long till I see you. I'll pop in as Arizona has good snacks in the locker room. You guys,
we
yeah,
do.
Swedish fish, the little
We
bags
have
of the,
all we have them all. I mean, we have those. We have Skittles. We have M
I
and
know,
M's, jerky. I
I
mean, this
know,
week we had catering,
I know. And then you go like in Carolina and they have protein balls and yeah,
apples and
yeah,
bananas,
no,
and
no. I going to Arizona. Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks, buddy. You're the best, man.
yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.